Hi there, welcome along to the Racing Post 2020 Cheltenham Festival preview in association with Bet365. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm delighted to be joined by three of the very best judges, three wise men who've spent their entire winter devoted to the task of rooting out Cheltenham winners. Paul Kealy, David Jennings and Tom Segal. We are going to spin through all 28 races across 4 fantastic days. So grab a pen and paper and hopefully you will be scribbling down the names of some winners and a lot of wisdom as well for the great week ahead. We'll start with the 1:30 on Tuesday. It's the Sky Bet Supreme Novices. We're pretty sure what the field is. There's still a little bit of doubt that Envoy Allen could get parachuted into this rather than the Ballymore, but I think we'll bet without Envoy Allen. And Kills, kick us off with the Supreme winner.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to the favourite, Shishkin. I just think he's a really, really fast horse. When he won at Newbury, he was so fast after the last 20 lengths faster than the other 3 winners and hurdles on the card. And he was really, really fast at Huntingdon. I don't like tipping favs, but I think he's got that irresistible finish that Altior had when he won the Supreme, and I think he's a similar horse.
What are we working on by way of ground in your head, chaps? Where I'll just quickly ask what you've factored for the ground.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be soft-sided, good to soft. I mean, it depends. I mean, 1 minute, on Sunday the forecast was for loads of rain, but by Monday it was going to be dry. Yesterday there was more rain around. They don't know, we don't know, but I mean, it's going to be softish.
So we're recording this on the Wednesday, 6 days beforehand. At best, it's going to be good to soft, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it wouldn't take a lot of rain for it to get somewhere towards heavy, would it?
No.
What have you got it in for, DJ? What are all your tips going to be based on?
Sunday, it's quite wet this Sunday. I think the last time I looked at it, I think it's going to start on soft, and I think probably by Thursday it'll be good to soft.
Is that what you've got as well, Tom?
Rained heavily 2 nights ago. I know that for a fact. A couple of guys were down there and it rained a lot. So I think it's probably softer than they say at the moment. I think it will be soft, good to soft, as Keels was saying.
So testing all week. DJ, who wins the first test?
I'm with my old buddy Keels here with Shishkin. I was quite impressed at Huntingdon. It was 2 mile 3 and he's a fast horse. And I just liked the daylight he put between himself and Chamblou at the last. I think Chamblou is a decent enough horse. A little bit worrying, I think, of Nicky Henderson's last 32 runners in the Supreme. He's only had 1 winner, and that was Altior. You'd imagine that he would have a better record than that. But I think with Shishkin, I think he has the pace to kind of cope with Asteria Forlonge, who is in the champagne fever mould. I just wonder, will he get outpaced a little bit coming down the hill? I think Shishkin is faster than him, and I think he'll pick him up. One at a huge price that could run well if he runs here is Soviet Pimpernel, who's got good form tied in with Kel Destin and Torpedo from earlier on in the season. But Shishkin will be my first choice.
Do you think this is a strong Supreme, Tom?
I do, yeah. I do. I think it's a really good race. I think the novice hurdlers are really good. I'm not so convinced by the novice chasers, but I think the novice hurdlers in all races are really strong this season. Agree with the boys. I think Shishkin is definitely the right favourite. Would I back him at 2-1? Probably not. I don't like the grey horse, the Asterian Forlonge, that much. Thought it was a bit head one side, looked a bit slow to me. I think Shishkin's got to be a lot faster than him. If it was really, really soft and turned into a classical dream type race, then he's got a chance. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. I think it'll be soft, good to soft on the first day. So I think that's in Shishkin's favour. I think I always call it abracadabras. Yeah. Why did they leave the R out? Why did they leave the R out? Abracadabras has a chance if the ground dries out. I think he's a quick horse. He's not a brilliant jumper, but I think when he ran in the bumper last year, he actually sort of got upsides Envoy Allen, but he pulled too hard. He's settling much better. And I think if they went really, really strong pace, I think he's probably the danger to Shishkin. But I basically agree with a bit boring, but I agree with the boys. I think Shishkin's got a great chance.
I have heard Gordon Elliott pronounce that horse over 100 times, and he has never got it right. There you go.
And we got it right first time. How about that?
He's a trainer, not an elocutionist. Okay, a lot of love for the favourite in the opener. I'm not so sure that will be the case for the second race, the Racing Post Arkle, in which Notebook heads the market, but I'm not sure the lads fancy him to head them home. DJ?
No, don't like Notebook. I think Fakir de Dares will reverse that form. I know people are saying that he won't get the £7 allowance in the Arkle like he did at Leopardstown, but I just think he'd be ridden differently. He'd be ridden more aggressively, and I think the way the race is going to pan out is going to suit him. The vibes are very strong from Joseph's. I think the recent work has been better than it was all winter, and he's just a bit more experienced. Like, he's going to cope with the big day better, I think, than Notebook. You know, he ran at Cheltenham last year in the Supreme. He went to Aintree, and I just think he's a bit more battle-hardened. So Fakir de Dares will do for me.
Is he definitely going to run in that race?
I think so. I think listening to Kevin Blake, who's obviously Joseph's race planner, he seems to think it's about 90% certain. Now, JP has had very few runners in the Arkle this century and doesn't particularly like the race, but I think it's the right race to go for.
Tom?
I think he might run in the Marsh. I think he's crying out for 2.5 miles myself, Fakir Duderi. I'm with DJ about the Irish novices. I don't think they're brilliant. Fakir Duderi is a brilliant jumper, but I think he needs to go up in trip. Don't like Notebook. What I want from my Arkle winner, Racing Post Arkle winner, is for them to come and be champion chasers. And if you just compare him with Chacun Poursoir on the same day, he was miles behind. It would have been 20 lengths behind. And you don't really want that in your Arkle winner. You want your Arkle winner to be top class. I think the English have a chance here. The British, I think Brewing Up a Storm has a really good chance. I think it's been. I'm sort of warming to the fresh angle coming into Cheltenham. I think there's been a lot of racing on bad ground, and I think he missing out the majority of the season is a great sign for him. I think if you look at his Carlisle form, the start of the season when he wasn't fit supposedly, and he gave lots of good horses a 30-length start and picked them all up. The Dipper winner, good race that. Also think the form of his Taunton win's pretty good. Southfieldstone probably should have won at Kempton the other day. I just think he's got everything going for him. I don't want him to get too far behind. That's the problem because he ran in the Ballymore last year. But normally, he's a good jumper. He's a strong stayer. He'll do for me for sure.
Is Notebook in your notebook, Kills?
No, he's not. I mean, he's a bit headstrong, isn't he? He's a bit highly strung, isn't he? He sort of ran away with Rachel Blackmore last time, going down to the start. And obviously, if he does that at Cheltenham, much bigger occasion.
I asked Henry about that, and he said that it was because he had done absolutely nothing with the horse since Christmas, and he just thought he was really, really fresh. Now, obviously, he's going to be making excuses.
Exactly. But I mean, they had a similar one a few years ago, Petit Mouchoir, didn't they? And he just lost it to start twice at Cheltenham. So no, I can't have Fakir Duderi. Totally agree with Tom. That's a 2.5 mile. And I think what's basically happened here is that at the start of this season, most of the English novices that were coming out didn't look very good, and everybody got in their heads, the Irish must be winning the Arkle. And then suddenly we've got some decent novices came out a bit later and nobody's really noticed. And they're a lot further out in the betting than they should be. I can see Brewing Up a Storm, definitely. I can see Esprit de Large jump really, really well at Sandown. Rouge Vif was very impressive at Warwick. They were all good horses. Rouge Vif's a strong traveller. But I just keep thinking that this mare of Dan Skelton's is just going under the radar. Moira Banry, she's now won 6 on the spin, all 4 chases. She jumps really, really well. She stays further, which is going to help. She doesn't need to make the run in. There's going to be a lot of pace in this race, so she will sit off them. And her jumping will keep her in there. And I think she's in each way bet around 12, 14 to 1.
Oh, yeah. 14s now. You've already unloaded.
Hoovered up the 16s,
Well, there might be some out there.
Interesting stuff. And we've also got a really nice Racing Post Arkle feature coming out soon, so watch out for that. The 250 is the Ultima handicap chase, and if the ground is testing, you're going to need to get home. Have you got a strong view here, Tom?
I like the race. I always think it's quite a weak race. It tends to be one of the races that sort of trainers forget about, and it comes, there's not that many you can fancy. I think there's 2 in there that have got a great chance. I know Gills is very sweet on Kildisart, who ran very well at Kempton the other day. I think if the ground dries out, he's got a massive chance. If it's really soft, I'd be slightly against. I don't think he jumps so well on soft ground. I think one of Paul Nolan's Discorama's going to run well. He's twice run at the festival. He's been second twice. Probably should have won both times. He was given an awful lot to do in the Martin Pipe 2 years ago. Then he got sort of just worried out of it in that sort of war of attrition in the 4 miler last year. I think he's had a wind up. After the 4 miler last year, he split Delta Work and Aplutard, which would make his handicap mark look really good now. I think he's dropped £1 since last year. He's been freshened up. I just think he'll run well. A bit worried about his jumping in a big field.
I know Kills is a massive believer in festival form. Do you have it down as a really big thing? Because they run at a different pace, and it's so important. That page in the Racing Post that's got the previous festival form. Yeah, it's amazing how you get horses that sort of finish third and second
year after year. So they'd be my 2 against the field. Obviously, we don't actually know who's going to turn up, but I think those 2 have got. I think they're double-figure prices. I think they'll win really well.
Discorama and Kildisart. And Kills, expand on the case for Kildisart.
Kildisart has had a terrible season, basically, but so has Ben Paulin, and his signs are starting to come back, and he's only dropped to a mark £2 higher than when he absolutely bolted up from Mr. Malarkey at Aintree, and he just ran. He was eye-catching late headway in the 888 Sport handicap chase at Kempton last time, and it'll just put him spot on for that. I hear that they're going to put him in cheek pieces, which might help his jumping, you know, he likes the track. He won on Trials Day last year. He was 4th in the JLT. Now, the favourite for the Ultima is Vindication. He was obviously very, very impressive at Ascot. The problem with him, I had a look, he's only run left-handed once in his life, and that was when he was 5th in what is now the Marsh last year. And he went right at every fence, apart from the ones he went straight through. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's testament to his ability that he still managed to finish 5th. Because, I mean, but you're not going to be able to do that in a 20-runner handicap chase, and I would worry about it. And by all accounts, like, you know, he works as well as any horse Kim Bailey's had since Master Oats. Like, you know what I mean? And that doesn't surprise you the way he won at Ascot, but it might just be the wrong way round. Yeah.
DJ, who is your idea of the Ultima winner?
Yeah, that was actually the last handicap I looked at yesterday, and the one horse I thought was overpriced was actually Mr. Whittaker, who went off co-favourite for the race last year off just a £1 higher mark. And he lost a front shoe and just never got into it at all. And the key thing with this race, just looking at recent years, horses who have ran in the race previously have a terrific record. Like on Tom's Pertu won it twice. Beware the Bear won it last year, ran in it the year previously as well. And I think it's, like Tom said, like I think it's a different type of race to most of these staying chasers are used to. He's got a bit of pace because he won the Close Brothers a couple of years ago. He's off 152. You know, he's not a 165 horse, like, so he doesn't have that much in hand, but I think he's still unexposed over 3 miles. And if they did go down this route, I think he'd have a chance. Like, he's 33s. I thought that was too big of a price.
Okay, arguably the weakest hurdle on day one takes place at 3:30, the Unibet Champion Hurdle. I mean, before we completely kick lumps out of the quality of the field, I just want a quick one-line answer. I don't want to know why. I'm going to ask you which race Benny de Dieu will run in Kills.
Mares,
I think.
Really? Okay. I'm surprised given the Honeysuckle. They know Honeysuckle's going there.
they don't fear.
It's the one she's shortest price for. But I mean, would she win the Champion Hurdle, Kills?
I think they both would. You know, I mean, they're both. You know, I think if they ran in it, they'd be first and second favourites. I mean, you know, it's that bad a race. But we've got
in
what we got.
racing, Kills. You get bad Gold Cups, you get bad Derbys, you get bad everything, don't you?
Of course you do. Yeah.
This is. I suppose the one thing you could say with this is that some of the ones at the head of the market might progress. You know, there's still some cozy
bad
on
now,
that.
isn't it? But it could be really good after the race. I mean, look at last year's race.
Yeah,
you know,
we could have a very good. I mean, going into it, I think Nicky Ennis should bring Bouvardere back out because he'd win it on his 3 good legs. You know what I mean? You know, that's the way it
Preview night
is.
stuff is coming out now.
What price would Altior be?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, there were loads of horses that would be favourite that aren't in it, and Altior was one of them. Like, you know, but you know, Red Voyala to be favourite.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and he's at least still amongst the entries, but that won't happen either, will it? So.
Okay, so we've been all negative about it, but it is the Champion Hurdle, one of the highlights. So come on, in an upbeat way, who's going to win it?
I don't know how you can be upbeat. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? You can pick holes in everything. Epatante, for instance, the only time she's run badly in her life just happened to be at the festival last year in a big field, and she jumped terrible. Pentland Hills. I mean, can you imagine if someone told you that a horse would run twice this season and finish behind Ballyandy both times and be second favourite for the Champion Hurdle? You'd still have locked him up, wouldn't you? Like, you know, but there you go, Pentland Hills. That's the strength of the race. So I've just gone back and I look at it and I think Super Sunday's got half a chance, and I thought, well, why not Silver Streak? Right? He's just consistent. He will run his race. He's 25-1. I think he's only been out of the frame once when standing up in a big field, which is important. And yeah, he's got 5 lengths to make up with Epatante.
It would be a bad race if Silver Streak won.
If someone said to you in August, you'll be tipping Silver Streak.
Exactly. They would have locked you up.
I'd have locked them up as well, yeah. I would have done. But I think he will run his race and might well finish in the frame. But I mean, there's nothing in this race that would surprise me.
David?
I think we're trying to look beyond the obvious too hard, because we're all saying how bad of a Champion Hurdle is. And yes, it is. When you see all the horses that could potentially be running the race and they're not here. But is the only improver in the race Epatante? Like, I know you're saying go back to the race at Cheltenham last year, but the more I look at the race, the more I think if you took that piece of form out of her CV, she'd be unbeaten, and we'd be saying she's a potential superstar. Her jumping is fantastic, and yet she jumped deplorably at Cheltenham. Nicky is saying it was down to the flu jabs. I watched the Christmas Hurdle at Kempton the other day, and I watched it again, like for about 2 or 3 times. And when I watched it the last time, I just thought she made up her ground on the home turn. She wasn't in a great position leaving the back straight. And I just thought she had the gears to get herself into a challenger position, and her jumping was lightning quick up the home straight. She's rated 159. The mare's allowance brings her up to 166. I think 166 is probably going to be good enough to win this Champion Hurdle. And I think after the race we could be saying, do you know what, Epatante is a bit special.
Do you agree with that, Tom?
It's possible. I think it'll be 5-1 the field, Bruce. I think it'll be like it's one of those sprint handicaps on the flat. I think the bookies will just say, toss the balls in the A, pick whichever one you like,
Should
boys.
get some decent place odds as well if there's a half decent
Be
field.
a huge field.
I think it'll be a huge field.
You'll certainly get at least 4 places on the day, won't you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I think you'll probably get 5-1 the field on the morning. I just think it's one of those races you throw out, pick one out, and see which one you come up with. I personally back Not So Sleepy. I used to throw out run that Betfair hurdle. That's a total throw out run. They didn't start properly, got round the back. I think on soft ground, the issue with him is if he can get the lead, because Petit Mouchoir's in there. But if he got the lead on very soft ground and jumped like he did at Ascot, I think he'd almost win it, because I think he's 110 on the flat. I think he was at his best. Hughie Morrison had a horse that ran second in this a long, long time ago, to show how old I are, called Marble Arch, that won the same handicap that he won at Ascot, pulled up like he did or virtually did in the Betfair hurdle, and then came second in the Champion hurdle. It wouldn't surprise me if he hit the frame at a big price.
On which subject? Can anyone talk me out of a very silly small each way bet if we've got lots of places on Ballyandy? He'll do his running, won't he?
No,
He's the one who's going to do his running.
I said he's finished ahead of Pentland Hills twice, so why not? I mean, it's one of those. I wouldn't put anybody off anything.
Okay. Except Tepitant, maybe, and Pentland Hills.
Well, Pentland Hills, yeah. It'll annoy me if he wins.
Well, I mean, it's
then to me, it is a really bad race if he wins.
And I find it quite fascinating, you know, about the prospects of getting something really unusual and sort of freaky happening that goes down in the record books. And I was like, Christ, do you remember when that won the Champion?
I know,
And you could get that.
You know, we talk about Pentland Hills, but I've done a few of these Cheltenham previews, and sort of the darling horse is Cœur Sublime, the one that's going to bounce back and do this. Now, I know he's 5 to 3 times the price of Pentland Hills, but Pentland Hills did whack him in the Triumph hurdle.
I think
the thing about the Pentland Hills is just the wrong price, isn't he? If he was 16 to 1, we'd be saying he'd got a chance.
Sure. Yeah.
The reason all the talk is for Cœur Sublime is because he works brilliantly. Like, he's the best workhorse to have in Gordon's for the last couple of years. He didn't have a wind up. He had his epiglottics, is it? Tampered with a little bit. Epiglottis.
Yeah, very good. Good.
Do you know what? I got it wrong the first time. I was like, what is it again? But he got that tinkered with. He went back to Chris Jones over for a couple of weeks, and apparently he's turned inside out. And he was of them all that worked in Leopardstown the other day. He was the one that they were happiest with.
Okay, 410 is the clash we're expecting to be the 2 star mares, Benny Dedieu and Honeysuckle. I'm still not sure. I still think that they might aim a little higher with Benny Dedieu, but it's going to be. We'll preview it on the basis that that's the duel, and if it is the case, DJ, who comes out on top?
I'm delighted they're both going for the Mayor's Hurdle. It's
You don't know that?
A controversial opinion. I did a preview at Ruby Walsh last night, and he was 90% certain she was going for the Mayor's Hurdle. And I got the impression it was 100%, but he just didn't want to be over-elaborating. I'm delighted both of them are going for this race, because I think it adds so much extra to the opening day. Now you've got 4 races that you're really looking forward to. I know it's
6. I'm looking forward to.
I know it's a poor Champion hurdle, right? But you've still got this. Like, usually the Mayor's Hurdle comes along and you're going, Willie's got a short price favourite. Nothing to see here. It's exciting this year and it's fascinating. They're 2 exceptional mares. I think Benny is better than Honeysuckle. I think everything about her screams superstar. I think she's probably the best horse, male or female, that Willie Mullins trains. And her work has been fantastic. She was brilliant at Gorham Park, and I just think she wins.
Who do you like, Tom?
I don't know. Once again, it's a toss-up. I like Honeysuckle as a horse, unbeaten horse, isn't she? She's an unbeaten mare.
Are the prices right? I mean, Benny's a
fair bit shorter. I think it's probably right, but I don't think there's as much in it as between the two. I like the race. I'm going to love watching it, but it's great for me and Keel to get some work done while we're watching this one. Not having to watch how our horses are running. It's a great race. I personally would slightly prefer Benny Dedieu, but I think Stormy Island will finish third. I think she might be the each way sort of bet. I can't see her beating the other 2, so you may be missing out on the win bit, but she's about 8 or 9 to 1. I think she'll finish third.
Yeah, but she's not, you know.
Keel's a race to savour.
It's a race to savour. I don't think I'll be betting in it. I mean, I think Benny will win. They're both very, very good horses. I mean, I do want to see them race against each other. I'd rather see them race against each other in the Champion Hurdle.
This is their best trip, though.
I do get that. Nobody's going to say, 10 years time, do you remember we won the Mayor's Hurdle in 2020? You know what I mean?
Well, they might do, actually. I mean, it could be a race for the ages.
I mean, the other thing, if they have, developed a mare's programme, we remember years ago, you'd only get one good mare every 10 years or so. We've now got loads because they got a programme. So you can't really blame them for supporting the race. They probably have to. But I think they're the two best hurdlers running on the day. You know what I mean? And I'd rather see him in the best hurdle race on the day. But that's a personal thing. I don't blame him for
Could
not
you say
doing
the
it.
same about Phillies not running the Oaks and going for the Derby, though?
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, though, does it?
Shouldn't happen either. That shouldn't happen. But it's a totally different argument. So what happens?
Benny wins.
Benny wins. Okay. The 450, chaps, is the Northern Trust's Novices Handicap Chase. Imperial Aura is the horse that Keels is very excited about, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been backing him for a couple of months. I was, I wouldn't say I was delighted when he was second at Cheltenham last time because I had a fair old bet on him. But he did enough to get up in the ratings to get into the race, and I think that form's really, really strong. They didn't go hard enough for him, but they still pulled 11 lengths clear of the third, who was on the slopes. He bolted up at Kempton next time. And I was having a look for the weekend of the other day, trying to think, well, shall I tip something else in the race? And I kept going through it, and I thought, you know what? If I was having another bet now, it'd still be on Imperial Aura, so I'm sticking with him. I will be disappointed if he doesn't go very, very close.
DJ, who's your fancy?
Yeah, I think Keels. I certainly take Imperial Aura very seriously, but I've loved Hold the Note for this race for a long, long time. Love the way he jumps, love the way he travels. I thought that run at Warwick was really good. He just got outstayed by a strong stayer of Kim Bailey's, and just the way he went through that race, especially them 4 fence in a row at Warwick, I really like him. And I thought at Kempton over Christmas, like he was travelling and jumping really well when the Venetia Williams horse fell and hampered him. He's got a mark of 145. They won the race a couple of years ago with Mr. Whittaker. I think there's a better horse than Mr. Whittaker. So Hold the Note for me.
And Tom?
I'd throw in Galvin if he runs. I think he'd have a chance, definitely. No?
No, he just... You can see he's been well punted. He's second
I just thought he ran really well in the Ballymore last year. That was a good race.
His dam won the Durham National at Sedgefield. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, there is talk he could run in one of the handicaps.
Well, I would be all over him if he went up to 3 mile. But he seems to have been punted for that. I mean, I do think he's a good horse.
I think he's a good horse, but I just think he's well handicapped. So whichever race he'll run in, he'll run well. But that's one of the races that I think the top of the market has got it covered. And I agree with the boys. I think Imperial Aura has got a good chance too.
Final race on day one, 5:30. It's the hang on a sec, sorry. Final race on day one, the 5:30. It's the National Hunt Chase over 3 miles 6 rather than the traditional 4. I thought it was going to be a good duel between Champagne Classic and Carefully Selected, but Champagne Classic's come out. Does that leave the way clear now for Carefully Selected?
No, got to take him on. Definitely got to take him on. I know they worked him yesterday and he jumped really well, and everyone, Willies thinks he's the second coming and whatever, and they'll win. I hate the way he jumps. I really do. I think this is such a brutal race. I don't love horses that jump the way he does. Look, he'll be 7-4 on the day, but I think there's a couple in there. I think there's a horse of Tom George's called Springfield Fox, which is a massive chance. He's run 5 times over fences. He's won every one by 10 lengths plus. He was super impressive at Exeter last time, winning a good race. I think he'll jump, he'll stay. He's got everything. He reminds me a bit of Copperhead at a lower level, slightly lower level, but this is a slightly lower race. And I think any double figure price about him will go. You can have a good bet on him each way. And there's another one, Lord de Maynil, who's been running around Haydock in those staying chases, was second in the national trial the other day. Probably should have won. He's another good jumper, strong stayer. I prefer them both at the prices to Carefully Selected.
Kills, what's your idea of the winner here?
Yeah, I mean, like Tom, I mean, it's one of those. If Carefully Selected puts in an absolutely clean round, he'll win. But I wouldn't back him to do so. Now, a horse that finished second to him last time was Forza Milan. I think he shapes like a horse that is going to stay forever. And when they've jumped the last, there was about 3 lengths between them, and it was roughly the same. And they pulled away from the third, so Carefully Selected wasn't pulling away from him. I think he'd be very strong at the finish. He was quite a good horse with John Joe O'Neill. He actually went off third favourite for Delta Works Pertemps over hurdles as a 5-year-old. He's gone to James Nash. Seems to have improved for fences. I'll give him a shot. Obviously, we've got no Copperhead, we've got no Champagne Classic, so it's going to be a lopsided market and a little each way on Forza Milan.
DJ, where's your mind going to go?
Like Tom called the race brutal there as regards a stamina test. I think it's a brutal race as regards to quality. I would have been like the lads all along, saying Carefully Selected, you need to take him on when Champagne Classic was in the race. But you just go through the race and you're saying this horse is in a completely different league to all of these. Like, he should have won the Cheltenham bumper. He was nabbed by Relegate right on the line. You know, I would forgive him his jumping display at Naas because they rushed him to get to Naas. It was only a fortnight after he'd won at Punchestown. And I just think everything was just to get him qualified because the new rules. I think he's better than that. They've freshened him up since. His schooling has gone well. And it's like Keal says, you're just backing him to get around, because if he does get around, I think he's in a different league to these.
Not convinced, that DJ, not convinced. I think we always say these about jump races, but once, you get a couple of horses jumping well out front, carefully selected in behind, it's a hard job.
Like you're
he's
talking
not
about
miles
Lord
better.
de Menil, right? This horse has got speed,
This Springfield Fox has won every single time it's run in a chase, and it's won by 25 lengths. It is a good horse, I'm telling you. He is a really seriously good horse.
Okay.
And whatever race he runs in,
I hope you're right, because I think it's a terrible race.
Rightio, let's get best bets from day one. If you're only having one bet, Kills, I suspect you'll be having slightly more than that. But if you were only having one, who would it be on?
It'd be Imperial Auto.
Okay, in the 450.
I'm going to take you on. Hold the note.
In the 450.
Yeah, brewing up a storm for me, Bruce, in the Arkle.
In the
Never
Arkle,
learned, DJ,
which
will
takes place at 2:10. On to day 2 then, and the fixture starts with the 1:30, the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, in which we've got what has been for weeks now everyone's idea of the lay of the meeting in Envoi Allen, but could alternatively be the dawn of a new superstar. We just don't know, but DJ, assess Envoi Allen.
Yeah, I think he's a very, very good horse, but I think this is a very, very good race. I think he'd probably win, and if all the horses were the same price, I'd be backing him. His work has been good, worked well the other day. They're all singing about him. I think the Big Breakaway is an exceptional horse. This might just come a little bit early in his education, but I think in time, he's going to be a Grade 1 staying chaser, and at the prices, I chance him each way.
The Big Breakaway. Now, he was one of your anti-post tips as well. Weirdly, you went for the Big Breakaway and the Big Getaway.
Yeah, I should admit this, but I phoned up to back the Big Breakaway and back the Big Getaway by mistake. So I'm on both of them.
But if you do it, Tom, what chance of punters got? It's really important that they do get the right one.
You phoned up.
I didn't actually. I went on the internet. You see what? I couldn't phone up and get it wrong. I think it's a really good race. I'm against Envoi Allen. I have to be in my job at the prices. But I hate these horses that they say, oh, he only just does enough, only just wins by this much. Good horses win by miles.
Yeah, what is that all about? Why would they only just do enough?
Exactly. He can't win by very much because he's not much better than the rest. That's my opinion of him. So therefore, I'd give loads of the others a chance. I think the two bigs, Breakaway and Getaway, have chances. I think Sporting John has a big chance too. I thought he was really impressive the other day at Ascot. I think he'll stay really well too. So I think those three against the favourite have got great chance. I'm personally on the Big Breakaway, would be my favourite of the three.
Kills, do you see any of the leading contenders for the Supreme coming over to this, possibly Fiddler on the Roof maybe? Or something?
I think Fiddler on the Roof will end up there if it dries out, yeah, definitely. And I think he'd have a fair chance as well. I was quite impressed. That was a good time on the Tolworth as well, so he's got a shot. I do think you have to take on him, Allen, because he just didn't hit the line. I'm not absolutely convinced that he's a really solid stayer. I mean, I know it can be hard to look impressive at Naas because it's so stiff, but he was very slow after the last, and that's the worry. People tell you, there are some horses that pull themselves up when they hit the front, right? But 9 times out of 10, if someone tells you a horse is idling, it's because they think it's better than it is. You know what I mean? And it's just not true. Like, you know what I mean? You get time and time again.
It's a classic trainer's excuse,
yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, we had it with Don Poli a few years ago. Every time, he's just idling, he's just only doing enough. And of course, that was as good as he was. And that's what happens with these horses. Let's not knock him. He could come out and, he's won 7 on the spin, 4 Grade 1s, etc. He's obviously a very good horse, but I think he's there to be taken on. I like Sporting John. My worry with him is that Master Debonair definitely didn't stay at Ascot. It was just a really silly move from Colin Tizard to run him over 2.5 mile, having said one more race and then the Supreme, and he's clearly a 2-miler. So I go for Longhouse Poet, who travelled really, really well at Leopardstown. Took it up at the last, got outrun at a couple of places in the end by latest exhibition, Cobbler's Way, I think. But travelled really, really well, and I think...
Is it definitely going to run?
Yeah,
he said, having backed it for Albert Bartlett.
Yeah, I've backed it. I've backed it for the Albert Bartlett, not non-runner, no bet as well. Yeah, so, but
I spoke to him last week, and he said he was 80% sure he was going for this race, depending on the ground though.
Okay. Right then, if people want to lay the favourite in the first, I think they're going to do so in the second as well. It's the RSA, and the favourite is Champ, who everyone knows has a Rolls Royce of an engine, but isn't the greatest of jumpers. So what is the approach going to be with Champ? I know you're taking him on because this is what, if you had a joker, if this was it's a knockout, you might well be playing it.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I love Copperhead here. I just think he does everything right. He's a brilliant jumper, travels well. He's just my type of horse. I was saying to someone the other night, since I was about age 15, I've had pictures of horses on my wall. Copperhead is going up there at some stage because I just think he's lovely. Everything about him is really nice, and he's got tons of ability.
What do you like about his fur? Or, I mean, what's
Just
so
the way he
nice
does
of-
everything, just the way he moves, the way he travels, the way he jumps. I just think he's what I like in a racehorse. It's perfect. So I'm a massive fan of his. I hope he wins. I think he will. Champ, you just can't back him, can you? I mean, the back of a horrendous fall where he didn't get up for, and I was with one of Henderson's assistants yesterday. He said he's still a rubbish jumper. He said everyone's saying, he said you just don't take him down the schooling, and he doesn't have any respect at all. Every time anyone who rides him, he's all over the place. You've got to throw him at him. He said he's just not a good jumper. Simple as that.
That's interesting because I half expected to hear from the Henderson camp that we've done loads of schooling and it's all sorted.
They'll tell you that, but this is not what I was. He's just not a good jumper. So I'm against him. Manella Indo is an interesting horse. Obviously, he won the Albert Laparta last year, but he's got so little experience, isn't he? One run in a bad race. Was it at Navan? I can't remember, but I thought he was worth taking on. Allaho is a danger if he goes here, and the vibes I'm getting is that he will go here rather than the Marsh. I think he'd personally be better off in the Marsh because I think he's a bit keen, and that's what gives me hope for Copperhead beating him, that he might not quite get up the hill.
Tom loves Copperhead. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, same as Tom. I would say that when Champ meets a fence right, he's good.
Yeah.
But I think his problem is he's just a lunatic.
Because when he fell, that wasn't the only wrip by any means.
No.
I thought it was a really scruffy round of jumping all day.
I just don't think he pays attention. He's just looking around all the time. He's a bit of a nutter. Probably not quite the nutter that Mike Bite was, and he still managed to win the race, but he's still not straightforward. And yeah, I'm with Tom. I think Copperhead's actually got the best form in the race. That Reynoldstown win was really good. Okay, a couple of the favourites blew out, but the runner-up 2 for Gold's a fair horse, and he absolutely thrashed him. And he just keeps coming out and running career best after career best. Young horse doing that going into Cheltenham probably should be favourite, really.
Can you make a case for Champ, David?
Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. I love Champ. I do. I think he's being a bit harsh. I don't think he's that bad of a jumper. I thought his jumping was fine. I'd give it about a 7 or an 8 out of 10 at Cheltenham.
At
Cheltenham,
Really?
yeah, I'd give it a 7. Yeah, I thought it was fine.
When he walked through the second one?
No, obviously he
fine. It
fell,
wasn't fine.
but he's a novice. And like Mike Bite won the RSA on the back of the worst fall you'd ever see in the Caught with Star Novice Chase. Top of the game fell at Newbury, and he went on to win an RSA. They're novices. They're going to make mistakes. Hopefully he'll have learned from it. I thought to do what he did at Newbury to get Barry Garrity out of a hole, I thought you needed to be an exceptional horse to do that. And I think he does stay. He's got gears. Obviously it's all about jumping. But he's the best horse in the race, and he's drifting out to a price now. I think he'll win.
The 250 on Wednesday is one of the hardest races of the week. It's the Coral Cup. Kills, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm interested in a couple. One of them, Nigel Twiston-Davies, Stolen Silver. Outstayed Edwardstone, who's going to run in the Supreme, on heavy ground at Haydock over 2 mile. 2 starts ago, then ran in the Betfair Hurdle, and the ground was fast that day, and I think he was 21st of the 22 remaining runners going to the last, and he finished 8th. He really flew home. I think he's absolutely crying out for a step up in trip. And the other one, Damned the Company, quite interesting horse for Nicky Henderson. Went up £8 for winning at Cheltenham in December, and then they put him up another £2. Because the runner-up won a listed mares race at Warwick, and the McManus mob appealed it, and they managed to get the £2 back off. So the fact that they've gone and done that suggests to me that they fancy it. Where it's going to go, I don't know, because it's also in the Martin Pike, but you definitely want that on your radar.
David, who wins
Yeah, I'm
Coral
a bit
Cup?
worried because the vibes at the moment are very strong for Dame the Company. I backed Birchdale at 16s a few weeks ago. It's his only entry at the festival. He's rated 146. I think they think he's a Grade 1 horse, and this will probably be the last time he's ran the handicap. I think he'll turn into a good chaser. To me, he's the one that kind of fits the profile, a classy horse. Nicky Henderson has a really good record in the race, won it last year. And won at an absolute massive price. Probably won't get in, but you raise me up, the same connections, Martin Brazel trains it, was 3rd in the Ladbrokes Hurdle at Leopardstown, and crying out for better ground over a longer trip. If he got in, he'd have a chance each way, but Birchdale for me.
Tom?
I agree with the boys about the 2 Henderson horses. Birchdale worked very well at Kempton the other day. They all said, I'm a bit disappointed with Fuzil Rafflesbet because Birchdale thrashed him, so he could go well. I actually prefer Damned the Company, but I'm big Willie Mullins groupie in this race. He tends to win it with class horses. If Stratum runs, the Cesarewicz winner, he's got a chance. He's very well handicapped. He's not a brilliant jumper, but we've had this time and time again, horses coming back. Willie Wicklow Brave should have won it last year.
Arctic Fire won it, didn't
Fire and Brazil or Blue.
Old County, sorry.
Blue
yes, it was.
Brazil, was it? Or something like that.
Blueberry?
Blueberry won it. So I'm a big Willie. I'd see what he runs because I think he has loads of good handicap hurdlers and whatever he runs with Paul Town in it.
Okay,
Even
but
any of them.
it would also be fair to say that with your price-wise hat on, what you decide on Tuesday for the paper for the next day might well be different.
Correct. Absolutely right. I mean, it's one of those
I think with
races
all these handicaps, the 6 day, a week before the event, it's hard to really...
It's funny, you do as a tipster and you spend the whole time talking about and writing about different horses, and then you see the actual race card, you think,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
One of the things is, as we'll all know, is that you don't want to pigeon yourself too into one at this stage because it clouds your thoughts when you come to the day. So it's quite nice to keep an open mind. But those are the ones that I've looked at so far. I think have a good chance.
Okay, I would expect the race of the week to be the 3:30 on the Wednesday, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's a fantastic, mouth-watering three-way duel between Altior, Defi de Soy, and Chacun Pour Soi, and I'm fascinated to see what the boys fancy. We will start with David Jennings, who's going to make the case for Defi, aren't you?
I am.
Is this where the gloves come out?
This is where the gloves come out, yeah. The weakest of the three in my eyes is Altior, because I don't think he's the horse we saw 2 years ago. I think his performances last season and this season are not good enough to beat the two up-and-coming horses, who I think are really, really good. Like, people are knocking Defi. I think he's the fastest horse in the race, and yet he won the JLT last year, beaten Lost in Translation, and he stayed no problem. So I think whatever way the race pans out, I think he'll be fine. To me, he's the one that's just gone that way, that way, that way, and I think this will be a peak performance. I don't subscribe to the theory that Chacun Pour Soi is a better horse because he beat him at Punchestown. He was after running at Cheltenham in the JLT. I just think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he'll win.
Tom, who are you going to go for?
I think it's a toss-up. One I least like is Chacun, but I know Keels is really keen on him. He's my least one. I just think he's going to have to stay really well to beat them, because those two are really strong finish. I think he'll have to be a good few lengths in front of Altior jumping the last if he's going to beat him. I think Defi's got a problem with the way he's going to be ridden, because I think he has to be ridden out the back and come through horse. I don't think he likes being. He's another one of these ones that they say doesn't like being too front. It doesn't seem to matter when he wins the Triumph Hurdle by 15 lengths or whatever he did. But I think if he's ridden behind Altior, trying to get past Altior is going to be really hard, because there's not many horses that finish like Altior, and even at Newbury last time, he was brilliant, wasn't he? I thought he was right back to where he was really. I thought he was better than he was at any stage last year at Newbury. I really did. I thought in the Champion Chase last year, he was really. I mean, it was a terrible race, and he really struggled, I thought. So a lot depends on how he jumps, Altior. For me, if he jumps like he can, I think he might win. I really do.
Also, Tom, his reputation kind of took a little dent for going up in trip against Surname, but that could actually be one of the best runs of his career, couldn't it? I mean, he was meeting Surname on Surname's absolute optimum conditions, track, distance, etc. Oh no, he's got beat, but he wasn't beat far. It was a hell of a run, I thought. On
Racing Post ratings, it was a joint fourth best run of his life.
Yeah, he ran fine.
He ran fine. The time was really, really good. He can't have been. He can't have been unfit.
I think he's better this year than he was at any stage last year. I think both of those runs.
That run was good. My issue with him is that, his jumping is not as good as it was. He seems to take more effort, if you know what I mean. He seems to find it harder work.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all getting on, don't we? I find it hard work getting out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean?
There's a reason for that.
Find it hard drinking your 10th. No, I don't find it.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what I mean? So I just think, he was getting half length by So Royal at every fence. What's it? And if Defi and Altior jump the last together, Defi will take 2 lengths out of him straight after it. And Altior may well then claw it back, because he's the one that takes time to hit that top stride. But I think Chacun Pour Soi's beating of Min is the best form this year over 2 miles by some way. And I don't know why they're sort of, there's any negatives about him staying. That was 2 mile, 1 furlong.
It's not about staying. It's definitely not about staying. It's just that the other two are such good finishers. I just remember, and I know what you're saying about Punchestown, but even then, Racing Post ratings had Defi's Defi's best run of his life when he got beat by Chacun. And you go and watch it, and the commentator says, and Defi de Soy's come in, he's the one with the finishing kick, and then Chacun Pour Soi went away.
Yeah, but Keels, that was an unbelievable performance visually by Chacun, but he hasn't, the two this year, I mean, he was when he made his reappearance, all the vibes, as you know, were very positive, and he didn't run very well. I
wouldn't hold that against him, because there was plenty of Willie Mullins horses not run that well first time up. But then he beat Min. Min's a very good horse, 5-time Grade 1 winner. He was going for a hat-trick in that race. You know what I mean? He won the Mellon Chase by 20 lengths last year.
The only thing I'd say is that I agree with all that, but I'm festival form man. You've got horses that have won.
You can understand
100. You've got Defi's won 2, Altior's won 4.
Yeah,
Chacun's never been there, and he's not much different in price.
No, the great thing about this is the guaranteed drifter out of the 3 is Shackle
Yeah.
as well. That's when I'll be getting involved.
That's
I know I never ever worry about drifts, and I want a better price, but whatever he is now, I can see him being 4-1-9-2 on the
Yeah.
Tom, I didn't actually get a selection from you.
I would narrowly go for Altior, but I just simply because I think he'll finish best. I think the race will be set up for him.
Is there a way in which there is value in putting up a bet beforehand in play on Altior, just on the basis that, I mean, last year, for instance, you know, it was like, well, come on then, when you when you're going to get going, and then once he's jumped the last, he's absolutely cleared away. I mean, he does all his best work in that.
I would imagine he will be a big price in running at some stage.
I just wonder if he might touch 6 or something.
The thing about Altior, he's the one horse with the biggest blowout potential. You could see him
Is he?
absolutely. I think so because I think the 2. I think he could easily finish 3rd and no one would say anything about it. You know, he could get too far behind, and I don't think the other 2. I think they're going to jump well. They're going to travel well. And they'll be there at the last, whereas Altior, you could see him getting too far back. So,
would you agree with this though, lads? That if you take it from the start of the 90s, the 2-mile champion chasers, there's been so many fantastic names: Direct Route, Flagship, Moscow, Sacre, Masterminded. This is right up there with them, isn't it, Kills?
It is, yeah. I mean, you know, we had, you know, World Chief, Azertiop and Moscow Flyer in the Tingle Quig. It's one of those. Now, I would say that Defi and Shaken are not quite up to the level of those 3 from the Tingle Quig, and Altior was, you know what I mean? And but it's a fantastic race. It should be tight. Let's hope. I mean, it'd be great if they all jump in the last together, won't it? You know?
Looking forward to it, DJ?
Oh yeah. I on Altior, I just think he's been picking up So Royal and Politolog, them type of horses. This is different. This is a different level. Like, I just think if they get 2 or 3 lengths on him, they're not coming back.
Okay, let's move on to the 410. It's the cross country, a race where Kills used to head straight to the bar and ignore and deride. But cross country racing has become more popular, and obviously the fantastic Tiger Roll. Obviously, he's making his name as the perennial Grand National winner, but he's the king of this as well, isn't he? Just go on.
I mean, the thing is, everyone goes to the bar when the cross country's on now, so you're not actually getting
exactly,
any edge.
it's no good.
But we watched it together last year outside, didn't we? In the Arkle, was it the Arkle bar?
Yeah,
the Arkle bar.
When you say outside, most of that means tramping over and actually standing by the whatever it is.
The bar was there.
We were standing outdoors
outside the door
in the Arkle bar. Yeah, so it wasn't quite like that. We didn't wellies on.
But it was a fantastic watch because he's a fantastic horse, isn't he? I mean, you know, I hope he wins again. I think Easy's Land is a hell of a lot better than the horses that he beat in the race last year, but he still put up a performance that I doubt, you know, if he runs to that level again, he'll win pretty easily again, I'd have thought.
So you're going to go Tiger Roll?
I think so, yeah.
Do you see a danger, DJ?
No, I think like he's rated the same as Santini, I think, isn't he?
Something like that.
So, and I think he loves the variety. Like he hunts, he's been to Cheltenham, he's been for a racecourse gallop. Like he very seldom actually stays in the stable. I think he just loves the variety.
What an amazing horse. Remember he won the Triumph Hurdle as a 4-year-old? As a 5-year-old, he was just a rubbish Triumph Hurdle winner, wasn't he? Like, you know what I mean? He just went missing for a season, a bit like Defi, like, you know what I mean? And has come back to be an absolute superstar.
Incredible.
Yeah, he's different level to these. Like, I think they're pretty happy. I'm not quite sure if he's back to the form maybe he was in this time last year.
I think the French horse has a chance. I really do. Last year we're coming on in here off the back of winning the Boyne Hurdle by 4 or 5 lengths. This year he's been beaten miles, and I can't believe he's in quite the same form as he was last year coming into the race. And I think the French horse is better than anything he beat last year, and it's not even close.
A French horse that's easy to write on a betting slip. Easy Land.
Yeah. I think he'll run well. I think he'll give him a race.
Okay, the 450 is the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle race. It's probably 8 years old now, isn't it? The old Fred Winter.
A bit more than that now.
Is it?
Yeah. It has at least a full 10.
DJ, I know you've got a strong fancy. We'll come to you last. Tom, have you paid this much attention?
Yeah, I've had a good look at this. I'm going to get into DJ. It's like Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. Don't love Aramax that much. I think he's way too short. I'm not convinced he's as good as people say he is. So I'm quite keen to take him on. I think you can make case for loads, but I think Gordon's got another couple in there. Tronador that might run well. Jessie Harrington's, if she got in instant access, is it? I can't remember. The one that won it the other day, I think he'll run well. And Philip Hobbs is very sweet on a horse called Zoffi that won at Doncaster. Instant return. I think he could run well. And I think there's plenty in there. It's one of those races that come the day, you'll wish you weren't on one of those ones at a short price. You're thinking, gee, Miami, there's 33-1 shots here. Like there is every year. So you've got a chance.
Kills, you ready to know your colours to any particular
not really.
masters?
I mean, I made a real bad mistake in the Triumph Hurdle by not backing Solo non-runner no bet, and I backed Mick Pastor non-runner no bet, and he's probably going to run in this race, but off a mark of 140. I mean, they just don't win it off that high. There's too many horses that have hidden a bit. Like, There's a horse called Repetitio.
Yeah,
That's
Nigel Hawkes.
That's Nigel Hawkes was run well at Cheltenham and likes a real strong gallop to chase, and he's just the sort that could spring a surprise at a fair price.
Okay, we've heard from the guessers. Now here's the pro.
Here's the real guesser. Look, the value is obviously gone. I'm a huge Aramax fan and have been for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I couldn't believe he was 16-1 for so long. I loved the run of Fairies when he was third to Wolf Prince. I don't think he was fit enough that day. He came out in Nace and won by 8 lengths. He beat Recent Revelations, who made a mistake at the last. I thought he'd get a higher mark than he did. He got a mark of 134. He's gone up to 138 in England. Look, I'm obviously guessing, but I think he's at least 145 horse. That gives him £7 to play around with. Maybe there's better handicapped horse in the race. He's a short price favourite now. But to me, he jumps, he stays. The ground should be fine. The thing that does really worry me is I spoke to Keith Donoghue yesterday and I said, of Gordon's, who do you fancy? He writes them all out. And he said 5 horses he fancies really strongly, another 5 he kind of fancies, and then another 5 outsiders to have a chance. He never mentioned Aramax. And I told him Aramax was my nap at a meeting. And he goes, like Tom, he goes, do you know what? I think he's completely overrated. So that worries me. But I believe my eyes, even though I wear contact lenses.
Well, you were telling everybody about Band of Outlaws when he was 16 for the race last year.
Won the same race as Aramax at Nace as well. I just think he's different class to these. I think he should have top weight. I think he's the best horse in the race.
There's a lot of people who think that Appreciate It is different class in the bumper, which rounds off day 2 at 5:30. Do you agree, Tom?
On form he is, but I like one of Gordon Elliott's that's sort of gone massively under the radar, a mare called Queen's Brook. She won her point to point and then she won her bumper by 27 lengths or something. I know Jamie Codd's been floating around saying she's as good as Fiona, who won the race a few years ago. I think I'm not going to back Appreciate It at 7-4 or 5-4, whatever he is. I think Gordon Elliott's best one will do for me. And anyway, Willie Mullins often runs one at a short price and wins with the 5th string anyway. So I like all these races with short price favourites, they're no good to me. So I'll be taking her on. I like Queen's Brook.
No good to you either, Kills, are they?
Well, I mean, look, I was at Leopardstown, and when you go racing, there's always gossip. Everyone's telling this, and word was, if Appreciate doesn't win this race, Willie Mullins doesn't have a bumper horse because he's miles better than everything else. So I did the normal thing, laid it, watched it hang up, and yeah, I mean, it does look very, very good. I mean, I'm no expert in bumpers. I thought the other Elliott thing, Farouk Delane, if they allow it to run, is very tough. And it probably was quite a classy bumpy that he just won the other day. But, all the vibes are for Appreciate It. It's not a race I get heavily involved.
Mares have a good record, though. Mares have a good record. Fiona and Willie Mullins is relegate won it. She gets £7, Queen's Brook. I think she's got a chance.
The boys have tipped 2 Gordon Elliott horses and they're on the wrong ones, Bruce.
Oh!
Yeah, Easky Lane is the one. Easky Lane is the one that's working the house down, yeah. Appreciate is probably going to win. He could be an absolute superstar, but he's priced. I don't want to back him at that price. Yeah. The vibes from the Elliott stable are that Easky Lane is the one that's working really, really well. His form is quite strong. I thought he was quite impressive last time. Should have won a Fairy House. I think he's a pretty good horse, and they seem to think he's very good. Queen's Brook is actually owned by a neighbour of mine, Noel Moore, and she was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I don't know if she's going to run.
Oh. Brilliant. Could have told me that before I'd backed her.
Great story, DJ. That's helped.
Did you enjoy that one, Bruce?
Thinly veiled. I live in the sort of area where people have got enough money to...
exactly.
It's funny. He sold his company for 238 million or something. It's a credit card company. And his house is on a road with loads of bungalows. And then there's this absolutely massive mansion with a swimming pool. It's
Does he lend you the swimming pool?
That's yours. Right then, one bet on day 2, Kills.
Each way, Stolen Silver in the Coral Cup.
Aramax in the Boodles.
I'm on the big breakaway in the Ballymore.
Not Copperhead.
Copperhead. Oh my God, Copperhead. Definitely Copperhead. 100% Copperhead. How did I forget that?
You've done too many of these. Now you're an autopilot, aren't you?
I know.
Melted head.
Definitely Copperhead. Undoubtedly, 100%.
Before we get stuck into Thursday, Members Club Ultima is the greatest value media package there is, and it's just got even better because we are offering 50% off for 1 month. If you want to take advantage of that, you get all the ratings, all the videos, all Paul Kealy's tips, all David Jennings' tips. You get Tom Segal nice and early the night before. You get the newspaper in video form. It's absolutely fantastic, and if you want to take advantage of that offer, go on to racingpost.com and key in the code CHEL50. Now then, if we look at the first race on Thursday, the Marsh Novices Chase, this could be the story of the week. This could be the moment, couldn't it, when the roof comes off because the mighty Forheen kills. He's ripping up every trend going. He's 12. He's got a great chance of winning a Grade 1 Novices Chase. Doesn't normally happen, but there aren't many horses like Forheen. Can he do it?
There aren't. I mean, it's amazing. Well, first of all, he's already won a Grade 1 Novice Chase because he did it at Leopardstown, and that was an amazing performance. The reception he got there was unbelievable. People crying in the parade wing, or the winners' enclosure, and for a horse of that age to be that good. I mean, when he won his second start over fences, I think Racing Post Ratings gave him a mark of 166. And there's only been a handful of horses in the last dozen years to run that high on their second start over fences, and they were all 6. Like, you know what I mean? It's like Duvan Altior and Simon Sig, I think it was. Like, you know what I mean? So, remarkable horse. He had a really hard race at Leopardstown, I would say, and I don't know whether he's quite fast enough for this race at Cheltenham.
Who do you fancy?
I like Itchy Feet quite a lot. Third in the Supreme last year, so we know he actually on the track. He's got that festival form. I was really, really impressed with him at Sandown when he won the Scilly Isles. He generally jumped pretty well, but he made a slight mistake at the second last and stumbled. But he was straight back on the bridle. When horses stumble at that particular place at Sandown, when it's uphill and it's in the mud and whatever, it can stop them in their tracks. But he just straight back on the bridle and he went away and won. I think it'd take a very good horse to beat him.
DJ, 15 months ago, Forheen lay on the turf there, and we didn't think he was going to get up. He's got up. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. Can the fairy tale continue?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think it's too much of an ask. I have itchier feet than Paul. I really like this horse. I think, as Paul said in the Scilly Isles, I thought he was really good. The first day he ran at Leicester was a 3-runner race. It kind of got forgotten about because it was over Christmas, but he jumped brilliantly that day. And looking back at last year's Supreme, I think he would have been a clear second, only for he made an absolute mess of the last. He's the real improver in the race, and I just love everything about him, so I'm a big Itchy Feet fan.
Do we have 3 votes for Itchy Feet, Tom?
About a week ago I'd have said yes, but I think the Marsh is turning into the sort of the novice chase which attracts the best horses these days. We had Lost in Translation and Deafy last year. I know the RSA turned out to be very good, but I think we're going to find lots of horses coming into this race, and a few of the others, the Arkle and the RSA maybe being a bit weaker. I think this is going to be the best novice chase of the week. I don't think it's close. I think Forheen will run, Samcro will run. I think Allahome could even parachute into this. Itchy Feet has the best British form. It's not close, but I do think it's a really good race. If Allahome was to run in here and not the RSA, I'd give him a massive chance of winning. But I can't be a Forheen fan, not age 12. I think, as I agree with Keels, he had such a hard race last time. I think this is another big step up on beating Easy Game. What about Samcro, DJ? You're a big fan.
No, because he'll tell us he's still got it.
But he's a good horse. He would have beaten Fakir Duderi 2 starts ago.
That's not necessarily true.
He might have.
The one thing I do know, you're going to hate this. You're just going to hate it, so I'm a bit kind of scared now the way you're looking. He scoped very, very dirty after Limerick, and they were so sick of making excuses for him. They were like, do you know what? We're just going to get ridiculed for making another excuse. So there was a very valid excuse for Limerick. But I do think he's a very good horse. Schooled beautifully at Leopardstown on Monday. I'd love to see him winning, because I just couldn't wait to see you then after that. But
I don't mind. We know he's got ability, but it just seems to vanish, doesn't it?
Is his form that bad? I don't know. He probably would have beaten Fakir Duderi. He scoped dirty at Limerick. If he came back to himself, which they think he has, there's stranger things have happened.
I'll tell you what, Samcro and Forheen going head up the run in a big fancy horse race in that, wouldn't it? Eh?
I mean, what were the prices at Limerick? Samcro was long odds on to win, wasn't he?
They just can't get him to scope clean for some reason. I don't know why.
Somebody messaged me the other day and said to me, Sampro's going to end up favourite for this race, I can't remember who it was, but there's a bit of...
It's not so wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the biggest shock.
Yeah.
Right, 2:10 on Thursdays, the Potemps. And DJ, before we look at who we fancy, I will commend you on a very good piece in the Racing Post on Tuesday, in which you pulled apart the ludicrous situation where horses can qualify for a race by finishing 6th and almost are encouraged to do so. So that's a valid point. Hopefully Cheltenham will look at it, and if they are going to kick a race out, then I'd be quite happy to see this one go, or have it modified so that you don't have these interminable qualifiers. But
Why does I have a 3-mile handicap hurdle?
Yeah.
Well, have a qualifier, but if you win one, you're in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what weight you got.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, it makes the qualifiers better and the final better.
Rant over. Who do we think will win, DJ?
It was like when I went through the trends of the race, and you know when you're writing a column, you know this as well, Bruce, when you have an idea in your head and then you go checking it out, it's glorious when it actually works out even better than you hoped. And when you see the form of some of the winners and what they did that season, Buena Vista won it twice, shocking form coming into the race, like it's unbelievable. The one I like is the Storyteller. Finished 6th in the same race that Sire de Burley finished 6th in the qualifier at Leopardstown. He's rated 149. Now, fair play to the British handicapper for putting him up £7 because he deserved to go up £7. And I would say fair play. He's a 156 rated chaser. He's running 9 Grade 1s. I just think he's the best horse in the race.
Blimey. The British handicapper has had praise from an Irishman. It's happened.
Don't you think it's a tip in itself when the Irish trainer goes, "This is the worst handicap
Yeah, of
horse"?
course it is,
He's telling you that he
Yeah.
fancies it. So the Storyteller's obviously fantastic. I like a horse called Third Wind, Huey Morrison, a bit of a Huey groupie as you can see, but he won at Wincanton the other day, and he won the EBF final last year in strong, and that form is worked out like really good. I know a lot of them have become chasers, but that is good form. That is good form, and I think he'll run really well Third Wind.
Kills, have you sussed this for us?
Well, it's funny, we're talking about all the horses that won on in the 5th. A few years ago, Fingal Bay won the qualifier at Exeter and then won there. And the 2 horses I like most have actually won qualifiers. One is Welsh Saint, who I thought, I actually laid him for a place at Haydock because I thought he might stay, but he races too keenly. He's one of these Nicky Henderson horses that goes too keenly. But he still went keenly and he won easily. You know,
Have you ever laid a loser?
Yeah, several. Yeah. Winning stories are ball punters.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so I like him. But I did a do the other day, and Jessica Harrington was over, and she seems very, very keen on Silver Sheen, who won the Warwick qualifier, and that Warwick qualifier, he actually stumbled on landing after the last. It looked like he was well beaten. He only just got up. Now the third has come out and won 12 lengths or something at Newbury and gone up £12. Silver Sheen is going to be £6 better off with him, and I think one for the team. This horse is a 12-1 in places, right? Same price as Silver Sheen.
They are so sweet on that horse. My God, like they really are.
Well, it's funny, but Mick Fitzgerald was asking, all these different trainers about their horses, and it got down to Jessica Harrington and her 4, keen on Super Sunday, and then he said, went on to Silver Sheen, and he said, "Oh, is there more to come?" And she went, "Oh, a lot."
I watched the race in Navan last Sunday week with Kate Harrington, and 2 of us were watching, and I said, "Have you as much for Cheltenham, just idle chat?" And she said, Super Sunday. And I said, "What's your best chance of the week?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Silver Sheen, he'll just win."
Wow. Excellent.
I fancy Silver Sheen now.
Yeah, so do I. Right, we are entering what this time last year was the golden hour, with Frodon winning the Ryanair and Paisley Park winning the Stayers. Could happen again this year, Tom. We'll start with the Ryanair. Where is your money going to be going?
I don't know I know I've done a few of these things with these lads, and they keep telling me Min's a certainty. I'm not a Min fan. I don't know why. I think it's probably one of those horses that I've got history with. You get history with horses that have never delivered.
I was like that with Undersown.
Yeah.
And literally until he turned 11, and I started backing it.
And I was like that with Corto.
Oh, we're done. Do you know what I mean? You get these horses and you think, I can't keep backing him. I've tipped and backed Min for the last 3 Cheltenham festivals, and so I can't be doing it again. I'm sick of him. But clearly his entry form is the best form in the book, and it's not close. But I'm going to be against him. I sat next to Henry de Bromhead at Ado the other day, and he said he hadn't had a horse work as well as Aplutard did the other day for ages. He thinks he's a seriously top horse. And if it got really heavy, I do think Frodon will won well, because I think he won despite the ground last year. I think he's a really, really top horse on heavy ground. And if it got heavy, he could beat them both, because he'd get up front, and whether they could get past him. I'm not convinced Aplutard would stay on very heavy ground. And whether Min would have the resolution of a Frodon on heavy ground, I doubt very much. So on heavy ground, I'd go for Frodon.
Why did Min run so badly, or so disappointingly last year?
Last year, well, everyone tried to do what they tried to do with Altior, was to go slow and outspeed him, and Min's probably more of a 2.5 miler than anything else in that field, and he just wasn't fast enough to do it. He needs to be out there setting a gallop at 2 miles for sure. I mean, I'm fairly sure that he'll hunt Frodon round in this race. But at 2.5 mile, if this race was on any other track in Britain or Ireland, he'd be a shade of odds on. and he's not even favourite. I mean, that Mellon Chase form is way above what any other horse has done. And, you know, the idea that he doesn't act at Cheltenham is ludicrous based on last year, because he's been second to Altior twice. You know, finished ahead of Bouvedere in one of those races. So yeah, I think he's now going over his correct trip, and I think he'll win. I mean, I'd love to see Frodon win. You know, my Cheltenham last year was going awfully bad until Frodon won, and they sort of turned it around. And I've always been a massive fan of the horse, but he's running against much better horses in Applutar and Min than he did last year.
Does Min represent value to you, David?
Yeah, I did a preview in Dublin last night, and there was questions from the crowd that the MC was reading out. And one of the questions came in, and he looked at it and he goes, and he started laughing. He goes, could David Jennings tell the crowd what Ruby Walsh's worst ride at the Cheltenham Festival was? And I'm sitting beside Ruby Walsh, so I had to say what his worst ride ever at the Cheltenham Festival was,
right,
while Ruby was beside me.
So what?
And
what's he going to do, attack
you? Weren't in the situation, were
I don't
you?
care, I'd have just said it.
It's tough.
It's only Ruby Walsh, you're not Tyson Fury, is it?
But anyway, so I had to pick out his worst ride, and I said I didn't even have to think twice. The worst ride he's ever given a horse at Cheltenham was Min. He tried something, didn't work. He actually kind of half admitted it, although I think he picked Boston Bob or something. I think Min is like Vautour, only not as good, if that makes sense. I think that's the way he needs to be ridden. Get him out there on the pace. He had an RPR of 180 when he won the Melling Chase. He's 4 from 5 over 2.5 miles. The only time he's been beaten was when he jumped Purley when he was beaten a neck by Politolog in the race the year before. He's just the best horse in the race. He's going to run to a mark of the mid-170s, and I don't think Applutar can get to that.
Quite a few ifs, Bruce. If he jumps well, if he does this, I'm sick of Min.
I'm all over Min as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm around with the lads, Tom. I think you're being bitter.
I am. I am bitter.
There.
Yeah, it's like
they're only
Billy
horses,
Sharp
mate.
coming back and scoring the winner in the last minute.
You can't hate horses. They're just lovely creatures, mate. Only humans. Right then, the 3:30 is the Stayers Hurdle. And Paisley Park will be seen as many people's idea of the banker of the week. If you agree, very quickly say why. And if not, make a case for an outsider. Tom?
I think he's clearly the most likely winner, but people are telling me this is a weak race. You've got Somerville Boy, former Cheltenham winner, City Island, former Cheltenham winner, Penhill, former Cheltenham winner, Apples Jade, former Cheltenham winner. It's not as bad. I think it's a really good Stayers Hurdle myself.
Stop.
I do. I think there's lots of good horses in there. I think he'll win, but I think Somerville Boy is a cracking each way bet against him.
And you never tip each way?
No, never, but I have this time, and I just think I can't see him being out in 3. I think all his family are strong stayers. He's crying out for 3 miles, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if he beat Paisley Park.
One of the great moments of last year's festival, we were in the paddock, and everyone's going up and congratulating Andrew after Paisley Park, and Keels goes up and he says, Andrew, he says, well done. He says, Paul Kealy. He goes, oh, Paul Kealy, great to meet you. Like, that's fantastic. And in his moment of triumph, it got even sweeter because he met Paul Kealy from the weekend.
That was ridiculous.
No, absolutely. Wasn't it?
I'm going to chat to him before the race, and everyone's congratulating. And I went up to him and, I've just won the Stayers Hurdle. He's so pleased to meet you.
What a lovely man.
Well, what an incredibly nice man. He's always, stop and say hello to you. Whenever I've seen him since, he's really, really, really nice fellow. And, I hope he does it again, and I think he will.
Who's the forecast?
I half row in with Tom and Somerville Voigt. I do think Emiton will run well. He's got to improve a fair bit on that Haydock race, but I do think he's a sort of coming force in the Staying division. But Paisley Park will be too good for him.
What you got for us?
Yeah, I fancy Paisley Park. I don't agree with Tom. I think it's a really poor race. Like the horses that Tom mentioned, Apples Jade is completely out of form. Penhill is completely out of form. And City Island is out of form. So the previous Cheltenham Festival winners are out of form. In saying that, I do think the one who has least to forgive is City Island, who's had two poor runs over fences, but I think they have him back now, and I think City Island will finish second. Okay, I always find the period on the Thursday after the Stayers is the hardest time to punt. You've got those 3 races, haven't you? Bitterly tough. So we'll whiz through, and if you've got anything, pipe up. We'll start with the 4:10. It's the Brown Advisory and Mirabelle Plate. Keels, what have you got for us? Yeah, well, I'll be more confident if Imperial Aura has won on the first day, but simply the bets beat Imperial Aura. He's gone up £9, I think, for it. It won't stop him if he's in the same mood again. Funny thing is, I think every handicap chase at Cheltenham this year has been won from the front, and especially 2.5 mile races, being up there near the lead, it really suits him. And he's got a bit of 2 mile pace, this horse, and the stamina for further, and I think he's probably a graded horse. DJ? I just backed the horse in this yesterday, Bruce. Bellamy, the Pictons, I backed. ran quite well after missing the break in the Bet Victor Gold Cup off a mark of 146. It's ran twice since and it's down to a mark of 140. I think they'll ride him prominently this time if he doesn't miss the break. Venetia's got a terrific record in the race, and I just have it in my head that there's been 2 days for this horse this season. The Bet Victor Gold Cup and the Brown Advisory. And he was 33s. That was massive. 33s, the one price I can't say.
You got the wrong Depicton, I reckon. There's about 3 Depictons in there, and he'd be the worst of them. I think novices in these handicap chases have a massive chance. I agree with Keels about simply the bets. I think Dayran de Carjac, if he ran here, would have a chance. If he tried out, he'd have a chance. And Gordon, if he ran Dallas Depicton, who fell the other day but was second in the Martin Pipe last year, I think he'd have a chance. I like novices in these handicap chases.
The 450 is the Mares Novices Hurdle, the Dalesford Mares Novices Hurdle, no less. Our interest in this ended when Marie's Rock came out and bolted up at Taunton.
One of those where you think, I've got some right value here, 16s, 14s, 12s, 10s, it was going to go off 2 to 1, injured, out.
So you're going to strop off and not even put up a tip?
Yeah, no, I'm still going to have the ump when the race is being run, I think, yeah.
What do you like there, DJ?
I like Santa Rosa for Dermot McLaughlin. Dermot McLaughlin, he's a really good trainer, has a small string, but he had a double at Leopardstown on Monday, and he's just been slow to come to hand with his horse this year. They're bombing at the moment. Santa Rosa is his best horse, male or female. It was so good. It ran in the Geldings bumper at Aintree last year and tanked through the race with Finney Maguire. Has only ran once over hurdles behind John Snow, who finished second, and Exit Poll won the race. John Snow has won since at Leopardstown. The form is strong. She just blew up at the second last. She's a very, very good filly. Now, she's coming into the race on the back of one run, which is worrying, but I think she's loads of ability. I think she's a big price, and I think she'll run really well.
I know you called Patrick Parr and you called Gerald Jur. Did you call Dermot Durr there?
I don't think so.
I didn't know.
We'll have to watch back the footage, but I don't think so. We're not quite that close yet.
Okay. I'm just trying to learn how you truncate names there. Tom, who do you like?
I knew nothing about this race until I've done a few previews. Henry de Bromhead thinks Manella Melody's a really good horse, but she's favourite. Nikki Henderson's mob are very keen on a horse called Floressa to run well. She was second to Lady Buttons last time, but she'd had a bit of a third, was she? But she'd had a bit of a hold up in her preparation before that. She'll run well.
Brilliant jumper.
And the final race on Thursday it's the Kim Muir, isn't it? The Fort Warwing Kim Muir. DJ, have you got anything for us here?
2 I like in it. Like in handicaps, you're trying to find plot jobs, horses that have been laid out. Daisha Abba hasn't been like that, but he's just improving and improving. I thought he won so easily at Sandown, and I just think he could be one that's just a step ahead of the handicapper. And one at a massive price. He's been pulled up the last twice, but he has ability. He's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles as Tower Bridge. He's a bit of a... but there is a big day in him. So Daisha Abba and Tower Bridge.
Keels. Sorry, I threw the eyes. I did a Ronaldo no-look pass, didn't I?
Hold on a minute. I know I put on a few pounds, but blimey.
I meant to say Tom. You're the ones who have to suss race. All I have to do is say someone's name. I can't even do that. Tom.
Well, Derek O'Connor, Jamie Codd. I think Jamie Codd's going to ride Ravenhill. Is he for Gordon Elliott? He'd have a chance. Talk about Champagne Platinum running in this for Nicky Henderson and Derek O'Connor. They'd be the 2 at the top of my list. I'm with Dees. I've backed Philip Hobbs to be the top trainer, believe it or not, 150 to 1, because he's got Sporting John and Time Hill and Defi de Soy, and I'm hoping he might win a couple of handicaps as well. And if he got 5 winners, I think I'd be laughing.
I can't find anyone pricing him up. Who is pricing him up? They've only got 6 trainers quoted.
I know. I phoned him up. I found out one of the bookies.
I'm backed Paul Nichols instead.
Yeah, they gave me Paul Nichols. They gave me Paul Nichols.
Philip Hyde. Paul Kealy.
It's funny. We did one of these other day. I was calling it Dees Abba, and I got a mate who's Irish, right? And he sends me the pronunciations of everyone I get wrong when he listens to the podcast.
It's the nickname for Waterford.
Daisha.
Is it?
Counties in Ireland have nicknames. I'm from Meath, the Royal County, and Waterford is the Daisha.
Oh, right.
There used to be a guy nickname in here that worked from Waterford, and his nickname was Daisha.
Oh, right, and well, there we go. But yeah, Daisha Abbott is the one for me. I've been impressed with him. That's all you need to know, really. Don't need to add any more than that.
Thanks for that in-depth argument. Brilliant. You've won me over.
Done.
Everything DJ said, just rewind, do that, and then...
Okay.
Shorten it.
Jolly good. Best bets for day 3, Tom?
You've got to have to remind me now. I like Champagne Platinum if he runs in the Kim Muir.
DJ?
I'm going to go for Santa Rosa.
Okay, in the...
Mares Hurdle, Mares Novice Hurdle.
Okay, and Keels?
Oh, Witchy Feet, definitely.
Perfect. Let's look into Friday, and don't forget, you can bet through the Racing Post app with Bet365. Get all the tips, all the latest form as well at your fingertips. Let's start with the 1:30 on Friday. It's the Triumph Hurdle, in which Solo emerged from the final meeting, which traditionally throws up Cheltenham Clues at Kempton, and ran a fantastic race. Did he do enough to win you over, Kills?
It's funny because I was previewing the race beforehand, and the one thing you should do every year is back the 2 horses most likely to win the Adonis Hurdle, non-run and no bet for the Triumph. And what did I do? I just backed one of them, and it was the one that got thrashed by Solo. So Solo was 14-1, 16-1 before that. He's now favourite. Now, I thought I was there. I was at Kempton, and I thought, wow, this will win. And then I got up the following day, and I replayed it. I don't think Fujimoto Fly went through the race the way I'd expected her to. The third was only rated 126 and pulled the jockey's arms out for a mile. I don't think he can have run to his best, and he was only beaten 18 and a bit lengths. And a handicap has come up with a mark of 157. I mean, I think that's fantasy handicapping. I mean, it's according to the handicap, he's £9 better horse than any other one in the race, and
Perhaps
therefore
he's biased against English horses.
Therefore he should be like 4 or 5 or something, but he isn't. Only thing I'll say about this race is they're all bloody front runners. You know what I mean? But I mean, Solo took
I do know what you mean, yeah.
Solo took it up halfway. Aspire Tower, Goshen, All Mankind, they're all, you know, especially Goshen and All Mankind, they're all keen goers and all that. So I've been looking for something to pick up the pieces. Come to the conclusion at the end that so Psycho is probably the one that's overpriced, the one that won at Haydock.
14-1.
Yeah,
Another Nichols.
I think he's overpriced. Yeah, he might be able to pick up the pieces.
Okay. All right, DJ, what do you make of this crop of juvenile hurdlers this
Love
year?
them. Yeah, I think they're really, really good, especially the English ones. Like, I was on Aspire Tower from a long way out after he won his maiden hurdle at Punchestown, but just gone a bit lukewarm on him, even though I do think it'll suit him to sit in rather than make his own run. And do you know what? Every single thing is telling me that I should hate Goshen. He does everything wrong. But the more I look at it, the more I think he's just a freak. I think he could just be one of these absolute freaks.
In what sense does he do everything wrong?
Like, he jumps out to his right, he's too keen, he doesn't go through a race the way you'd love a horse to go through a race. He doesn't really look like he's settled or in his comfort zone. He just wants to go fast. But the more I look at it, the more I go... At Ascot last time, like you said, there's so many front runners in the race. I think they said to themselves, right, let's try and sit in, just see how it goes. And they did for half the race. And then he just was so superior to them. I hate myself for it, but I think he's probably the most likely winner, Goshen. Don't like the horse, but I think he's got a huge amount of ability.
You've got far more reasons to hate yourself than fancying Goshen, DJ, I promise you. Tom,
I
wins
think
it?
I love Goshen. I don't think there's anything wrong with him at all. I think that the best thing for Goshen is All Mankind, because I don't think he has to lead. He never had to lead on the flat. I don't think he'd be that keen behind All Mankind at all.
Yeah.
And
I just think fast early, slow late is not the way to win a Triumph.
It isn't, but I don't think he has to go too fast. I really don't. I think he'll sit in. I don't think there's any problem with his jumping. I think if you watch him at Ascot last time when something took him on, he jumped perfectly straight, perfectly fine. I think he's got a great chance. I'm a little bit with... I don't know about Solo, because I was looking at the race again yesterday and I was like Keels. Loved him, hated him. Now I'm coming back to sort of quite liking him again because he did everything right. He's one of those horses. The form's not great, the time wasn't brilliant, but he's a tremendous jumper. He's a good stayer. I just wonder if he's the one that is just certain to do it on the day, whereas I can't be sure of any of the others. And I don't think he has to lead either Solo. I mean, I think he can sit in behind. So while I get there might be a pace meltdown, I don't think it will turn out like that. I think All Mankind will lead and they'll all sit in behind him and the best horse will come and pick him up. I think it will be Goshen, but I am scared of Solo.
The 2:10 is the Randox Health County Hurdle, a race I still think should be the final race on the card. Don't ask me why, I just do. Ultra competitive. Kills, who do you think is going to win
I
it?
literally have zero opinion on this race at this time. I just cannot make head nor tail of it. I mean, I very often can't, but there's nothing jumping out at me.
DJ, there's never been a race on which you don't have an opinion, so who do you like?
Yeah, I like Eldorado Allen for Colin Tizard. Hopefully Puppy will ride. I just think he's had a light campaign, got injured last season, looked like he was going to be a top novice. Disappointed last time at Sandown, but in his first run at Sandown this season, he screamed to me as though there was a big handicap in him. So Eldorado Allen for me.
Puppy is obviously Robbie Power. I've backed Robbie Power, 14's top jockey. Can you have that?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got Fiddler on the Roof. He's got the big breakaway. He's got Harry Senior.
Copperhead.
Copperhead.
Yeah,
but
I hope so.
champ wins
I hope so.
So I got half a chance there, have I?
Super Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, he's got loads. And he's going to pick up... He could pick up a few Richie likes him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who
I
wins
thought
the county?
Mo Hayed will run well again. Dan Skelton 3 of the last 4. This has been the plan. Definitely been the plan. He won it a year ago, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I think he's £2 higher than he was back then. He's shown nothing this year, but Bello hadn't shown much before he turned up and won it last year. I just think he's going to run a really big race again.
And if you're 150 to 1 Philip Hobbs top trainer is going to oblige, you're going to expect Tyne Hill to do the business in the 250, which is the Albert Bartlett. Do you think he will, Tom?
This is the one. I don't know if he'll stay. I'm really not sure he will stay. I wasn't that impressed with him in the Challow last time. I actually thought Nicky Henderson's horse, the Casual Man, would have beaten him if he made a bad mistake at the second last. I think he might have beaten him that day. He was only beaten a length and a half at the line. I'm not totally convinced he's an out-and-out stayer. I think it's another really good race. I think there's plenty you can throw in there. I like the 2 of Colin Tizard. I think Harry Senior's definitely got a chance. I think he'll step up. But the one I really like is this other one that no one's talking about, Lieutenant Rocco. See what I did there? Not Lieutenant Rocco, Lieutenant Rocco. I was with an army man yesterday.
Did you get told off?
I got told off for calling him Lieutenant Rocco. Lieutenant Rocco. He won at Warwick the other day, beat a good horse of Harry Whittington's Stick with Bill, and he beat him hollow. I was listening intently to Colin Tizard the other day, and he said there's nothing between the 2, and this one is 25 to 1. I think he'll run really well.
Interesting. Who do you like in
I
the
did
Albert?
quite like to stick with Bill, actually. He's not for this race, obviously, but as a horse. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, he'd be run well back to Sandown, so it's not a bad line of form. I always go for horses that have loads of experience in this race. I mean, last year it was won by a maiden hurdler on a third start or whatever, but that was 50 to 1. And I'm going for the chaser, Ramsey Detaille. I think he'd be very, very hard to kick out of rank. He's just so tough, and he definitely stays. And you know, he came back over hurdles just to protect his mark for the Grand National. But he's turned out to be rather good at it in his second stint. And every time a horse comes to him, he goes away again. You know, and I think, you know, a lot of these horses, he will soften them up from the front, especially if it's really bad ground. But it was pretty quick ground at Doncaster when he won as well. So people have him down as a mudlark. I don't think he necessarily is.
Would you have a confident view here, DJ?
Yeah, I'm a big Fury Road fan. Fury Road was brilliant on his hurdling debut at Down Royal, and then he was very good at Navan in a race he had to win because Abracadabras didn't run, and then he won the race to Faugheen, and Penn Hill won at Limerick, so it's strong form. Last time at Leopardstown, the inside track, 2 mile 6, ground was too quick, longer trip, possibly softer ground, and more prominent tactics this time. He worked brilliantly at Leopardstown.
Okay, let's come on to the highlight of the week, the 3:30. It's the Magners Gold Cup. I had another look at this last night. I've been looking at it and trying to dive in and pick away at it and come up with the winner. I'm still struggling. At this stage, if I had to have a bet, I'd back Bristol Demar each way, which I did last year, by the way, and it paid off. But I just don't know. Help me, DJ. Come on.
I'm dreading this part because I'm tipping a horse that just all give no chance to.
Bells Hill's not running this year.
Bells Hill is not running, I know. God. Yeah, and a similar team, a horse that people are saying doesn't like Cheltenham. I like Clandazobo. I just think he's been ridiculed for the wrong reasons. It's stuff that you've probably heard from me before, Bruce. I think he's been too harshly treated for his Cheltenham form. Like 2 of those were in juvenile hurdles. He was just beaten by Whisper in a dipper. Then he carried top weight in a Caspian Caviar Gold Cup as a 6-year-old. And in last year's Gold Cup, I upgraded that form by about 5 or 6 lengths because nothing went right. Didn't jump as well as he can. He went after Might Bite and Native River too early. Third last was omitted when he was on the inside, so he had to zigzag around the fence. Harry Cobden had to make his move too early. And the key thing this year, he hasn't ran between the King George and the Gold Cup. And to me, he needs to be fit, he needs to be fresh. Nichols has said that. And would any other horse, imagine if Lost in Translation won the King George by 21 lengths. He'd be 5-2, he wouldn't be. He's been 9-1 since the race. Clandazobo for me.
If he does win, will you give it the big one? Will you come round to all of us and just, you know?
No, because I hate gloaters. Like, I hate people that gloat, so I won't. I'll just be
gloating.
I'll be inside, I'll be singing.
Well, we will all come up and give you due deference.
You give him no chance, do you?
No, I don't give him no chance, not at all.
You give him no
It just doesn't strike.
What's wrong with gloating though? My rule is win ugly but lose with grace. So, you know, if I have a good win, you're going to know all about it, mate. Don't worry. But if I lose,
gloaters.
well done, mate. Like, you know,
Froden last year.
Yeah,
Oh, you
exactly.
were all over that.
the place. Yeah.
Who
So,
will
why
win
not?
Kills?
Well, I'm a
You're doing that Premier League footballer thing where you start talking your hand.
I'm still a fan of Album Photo. Tom was talking about backing the wrong horses with the big getaway and whatever. I went to back Album Photo on the day last year, back Thistlecrack by mistake. How'd you manage to do that? You know what I mean?
12 points
Yeah, you couldn't believe it. But
Yeah, but you did get the forecast up as well when you put the wrong one in.
Tricast. No, not supposed to do that sort of half the time. People don't like that. But anyway, he's got a great Charles Albion Photo. I worry about how strong last year's Gold Cup was, though, because all the main protagonists in the betting underperformed or didn't finish. And I think there's some good second season chases coming up and down. I've been in love with Santini, out of love with Santini, in love with him. I think he's got a big chance now, but I'm still a massive fan of Lost in Translation. I think the bet for beating Bristol de Mai on his home track, Haydock, which no other horse managed to do, and he did it easily as well. He travelled all over them through that race. I think that's the best piece of staying chase form in Britain or Ireland, and I wouldn't worry about Kempton. He's obviously had a wind operation since. I just don't think he liked the track. Imperial Commander went to Kempton twice, tailed off twice. Next time out came and won at Cheltenham. So
do Gold Cup winners ever pay as their most recent outing?
Probably not, but it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't bother me.
Does it bother you, Tom?
A little bit. I didn't think he jumped that well at Haydock either. Myself, I'm slightly worried. He jumped really well, to be fair, as a novice, but I don't think this year he's been jumping. I'm more sceptical of the Haydock form because I don't think Bristol de Mai was anywhere near the Bristol de Mai we know he was when he ran at Haydock. I think he'd had a few issues in the preparation, wasn't quite as fit as he had been in years gone by. So I'm slightly against Lost. I can see him winning because he's the second season novice that was one of the best novices. They all win, those second season novices. I'm a little bit against Delta Work just on preparation. I think the Gold Cup's won by preparation quite often. Horses that run in the Irish Gold Cup, they tend not to win it. And I think he had a really, really hard race. If you look at, they said after the Savills chase that he won first time up that it was a stupid race and they went really slow and all this sort of thing. It was 10 seconds faster than the race that he won the Irish Gold Cup. And he finished knackered that day. And I'd be worried that took a bit out of him coming into the race. It's boring, but I think Album Photo or Santini will win. And I know they're the top two in the market, but I just think Santini's just got the right type of running style for a Gold Cup. He's a slogger, and sloggers win Gold Cups. He had an awful preparation for the RSA last year, still beat Delta Work. I think they're working him in cheek pieces today to see if it sort of gets him sort of more on the bridle than he has been previously. And also I can't get away from Album Photo. I thought he absolutely hacked up last year. I just don't think.
It doesn't feel like a two-time Gold Cup winner somehow, but that's probably that's just silly, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the problem.
Just a final Ruby reference of the day. Do you know what he's really scared about? He said it's very technical, but he said his back end gets far too high and he lands too steeply at his fences, and he's petrified of the downhill fences at Cheltenham. He thinks if he gets one of them wrong, he's just going to pitch on landing. So I don't know. I don't know. Even when he won the Gold Cup last year, if you watch it again, he didn't jump brilliantly.
But normally in the Gold Cup, I'm just looking for an out-and-out stayer to hit the frame. There's always one that hits the frame. If it be Annabelle Fly or Mon Mome or any of those. I can't find one. Maybe Elegant Escape.
Bristol.
Maybe Elegant Escape. He was fifth last year. He's 66 to 1. He's going to run maybe.
Bristol.
I give Bristol every chance. Yeah.
25.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Bristol.
If his ground was really soft, I'd say Chris's Dream.
Yeah.
Right, because I think.
Right, I'm going to press you for 1, 2, 3. Just want the horses' names. Kills 1, 2, 3.
Lost in Translation, Album Photo, Bristol.
Clanda's Oboe, Delta Work, presenting Percy.
Well, I was on record as saying Clanda's Oboe would win 5 Gold Cups, so I got that wrong. I might win 5 King Georges. I'd go Santini, Album Photo, Elegant Escape.
Lovely. Okay, after the Gold Cup is always the Fox Hunter, and again, referencing your excellent column on Tuesday, where you basically gave us the 2 horses that keep cropping up in all the previews you do, and boy, do you do some previews. And one of them is running in the Fox Hunter. His name is
Staker Wallace. Yeah, it's one that came on my radar about 2 weeks ago. And do you know when somebody tells you something and you don't really respect the person that told you it? It was Tom, actually. I don't know. But I was kind of going.
Having sat next to you for an hour, I think Kills does. Yeah.
It was one of them lads that you kind of go, oh, that's rubbish, like, you know. And then another person told me, and then another person, and I was kind of going, okay, there's some substance to this. And it was Staker Wallace. Derek is going to ride. It's improved a sight since Nace when it was second to Billaway. At that stage, you know, Stand Up and Fight was in there. Manila Rocco, we all presumed Derek would ride, so we were all kind of thinking it would be Manila Rocco. But apparently this horse has just turned inside out in the last couple of weeks, trained by a master and Enda Bulger. I won't have a bet in the race because there's too many ifs and buts, but from the preview night circuit, it's all about Staker Wallace.
Tom, who do you think will win this?
Oh, blimey! I thought Patrick Mullins and Willie Mullins had a chance. Billaway, is it called?
Ruby's charity bet last night, yeah, Billaway.
I thought that would run really well. I mean, just champion trainer, top amateur. What more do you want?
Keels, make the case for your old mate Don Poley.
No, cannot have Don Poley.
I'd love him to win. I want to watch it with you.
But actually, funny, the one I want to win is Manila Rocco, who obviously was second in the Gold Cup to Native River a few years ago, completely lost the plot. He actually came out and beat Hazel Hill, who won the race last year. So I'll believe it when I see it, because I'm not sure how he'll react going back into a big field. But I'd like to see him win.
Drying ground.
Needs good ground, yeah.
2 races to go, and not easy. The 450s, the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual. It's wide open. Who wins it, Tom?
I've backed a horse called On the Slopes, and I'm not sure he's going to get in. He's right down, he's about number 50 or something. But if he did get in, I think sort of on Keels' line about that novice handicap chase form with Imperial Aura and Simply the Bets. I think if you stop the race turning for home, On the Slopes might have won. I think it would have been favourite in running. He'd gone past Simply the Bets and Imperial Aura. He clearly didn't get home in very heavy ground there. He's come back to Kempton over 2 miles 2, and he's absolutely bolted up. I think he's just the type of novice that could run well. We know he jumps. We've seen that round there. I thought he'd run really well if he got in. Paul Nicholls is very keen on another novice, the favourite Grenadine or something. He was contemplating running him in the Arkle. It's not my type of bet at 7-1 or whatever, but those are the 2 that I've heard about. I've backed On the Slopes.
Who are you going to be backing, Keels?
Yeah, it's funny, but Tom said I did a preview, but Paul Nicholls was out, and he stood up on the mic and he said, he's rated 150 after 3 runs. He said next year 150 will look very, very generous. Like, what I mean? So
that's Grenadine.
Grenadine, I don't know how you say it. But I've always had a soft spot for a horse called Paloma Blue, and I'm hoping that if it is goodish ground by the end of the day, that he'll finally win a decent race. He was actually only beaten 3 lengths on bad ground in a Supreme a couple of years ago, but he wants good ground, especially to help his jumping. He got knocked sideways at Leopardstown last time. Couldn't have helped his cause. I think he'll go well.
And who are you going to be tipping for the Grand Annual?
I don't get that.
Oh, go on.
Oh, Lisp. Oh. Yes.
Well done.
Very good. Lisp has a great chance. Novice rated 144. Real solid form, tied in with Mr. Fisher and Al Dancer. But my strongest fancy in the race, and has been all year, is Breland Das, because the similarities between Breland Das and Le Parisienne are actually scary. It's really scary.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at you trying to think, what's that got to do with Breland Das?
The similarities between Breland Das and Le Parisienne are scary, because obviously Breland Das finished 3rd in the race last year, ran quite well. Le Parisienne ran in the race the year before he won it. Also ran in the Bet Victor Gold Cup the following season and ran well, and come back to the race off a pretty decent handicap mark. And it's funny, in the lead up to Le Parisienne's Grand Annual, Paul Nicholls was quoted as saying he's going to go for the Brown Advisory, but he didn't. He went to the Grand Annual. And the same thing has happened with Breland Das. They're saying, we think he might go for the Brown Advisory, but I think he's going to go for the Grand Annual. And I love horses in this race that have ran in the race the year before. Like Rock the World did it, was placed and won it the next year. Croco Bay. I just think Breland Das has been a plot job all year for the Grand Annual.
Let's hope it's a nice, safe race. The meeting concludes at 5:30 on Friday with the Martin Pipe Hurdle for conditional jockeys. I mean, it's brutal, those last few races. They're so tough from a punting perspective. Did you think they should maybe finish up with a race that gives us half a 2-1 favourite, or do you like to have these?
No, I mean, I do like.
I
do like competitive races, and from my point of view is the more runners the better. But you open your racing post on Friday morning, and it is so daunting because virtually every race is a massive jam-packed field. Even the Albert Bartlett's the biggest field for novice hurdlers all week.
But Kilsey, it's interesting to read as an aside that 7 of the top 20 betting races of the entire year are these 7 races. So the punters love it.
The other thing is, it's the end of the week, isn't it? So if you're going to book a day off to watch Cheltenham, it's going to be the Friday. You just extend your weekend, go on the lash on Friday, recover Saturday, Sunday.
Right then, no pressure, lads. Everyone wants to know who they're going to be either getting out of trouble or playing up their winnings on in the Martin Pipe. So
if Damn the Company goes in the Martin Pipe, definitely be back in that. I don't know whether that's that or the Coral Cup, but also the Boss's Oscar, I think, is probably the one for Gordon Elliott. You have to have a look at what Gordon Elliott wants because the race named after Martin Pipe. He wants to win it, and there was just something about the way he ran last time when he got beat at a short price. He just went through the last, and I didn't think they were 100% giving him as much as he could, and I think it'd be better in a big field on better ground.
Okay, DJ.
You said there, why can't we have a 2-1 favourite, to finish the card?
We
could have. This is going to be a real plunge. Front view, Joseph O'Brien. John O'Neill Jr. has been booked to ride. He won the race last year with early doors. John,
View.
I said it. Yeah,
did you?
Yeah,
Front view.
Front view. I think he's the best horse in the race, and he's going to be getting £6 from other horses. The run at Thurles was so eye-catching. It really was. He finished second 10 Violin in a maiden hurdle earlier on this season. It just looks to me as though he's just at least 10, 12 a stone a better horse than his mark at the moment. I think he's going to go off ridiculously short, and if things go according to plan, I think he'll win.
And Tom?
I love the Martin Pipe simply because it's the race that everyone has these novices. I mean, there are plots everywhere. I've been to preview nights. I've had 7 different ones that have got £10 in hand. Front View is definitely one of them. I think he will start favourite. There's Column of Fire. There's Pile On, who is my personal fancy. He's with Philip Hobbs. Keep mentioning him, but I don't think he's as far behind Sporting John and Time Hill as the handicapper thinks he is. He's going to have Ben Jones on it, the Rasher counter jockey, taking £3 off as well. I think he'll run really well, but I am very worried about Front View. We were with the bookmakers yesterday, and they were saying that's all the money they're seeing and have been for the last few days is Front View.
Who's the Friday nap kills?
Friday nap will be... God, it's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard. I'm going to say Ramsey's to tie each way in the Albert Bartlett.
Fury Road in the Albert Bartlett.
I'm going to go for Hope he gets in and On the Slopes in the Grand Annual.
Chaps, you've been fantastic. I will pull on your udders for one more tip. I will get the week's nap, the one bet you would have if you were only allowed one wager on the Cheltenham Festival. Tom?
Well, I've backed Copperhead at all rates down, and I'll continue backing him. And if he's 6 or 7 to 1 on the day, I'll back him again.
That's in the RSA on Wednesday, DJ.
Will there be an after party if Copperhead wins?
And you won't be
Back
seeing.
in your
Well, you
gap.
won't be coming, that's for sure.
Aramax in the Boodles on Wednesday.
And Keels.
Well, I'm all over Imperial Aura on day one in the novice handicap chase, and of course last year I was really deep in the mire after 2 days. I bumped into our racing post Justin O'Hanlon, one of the Irish guys, and he said, "How are you getting kills?" And he went, I went, "I'm going to be chasing for the rest of the month, mate." And he looked at me and went, "Geez, Kills, I wouldn't like to see you over a fence." And if Imperial Aura doesn't win, I will be chasing for the rest of the week.
Well, hopefully he'll get the job done. Thanks, Kills. Thanks, DJ. Thank you, Tom. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of ammo for the week. Please do bet responsibly, and don't forget you can catch David, Paul and Tom's thoughts in the Racing Post right throughout what should be a fantastic Cheltenham Festival.